What if we told you that the United States, home to more English speakers than any other country, has no official language at the federal level? That's right. Despite its global image as an English-speaking nation, the U.S. Constitution never declared English, or any language, as the nation's official tongue. But why? To understand this surprising reality, we must journey back in time, to the early days of American history. Let's uncover the roots of a multilingual America. Long before European settlers arrived, the American continent was home to hundreds of Native American tribes, each with their own languages and dialects. Linguists estimate there were over 300 indigenous languages spoken across what is now the United States. From the Algonquian languages in the Northeast to the Uto-Aztecan tongues of the Southwest, the Americas were a linguistically rich landscape. When European powers arrived, Spain, France, the Netherlands, and England, they brought not only their ambitions but their languages too. Spanish in the South, French in the North and Midwest, Dutch in parts of New York, and of course, English along the East Coast. Contrary to the myth of an English-only founding, colonial America was linguistically diverse. German was spoken in Pennsylvania, French in Louisiana, Spanish in Florida and the Southwest. Swedish even had a brief moment in Delaware. In fact, by the time of the American Revolution, up to 10% of the colonial population spoke German as their first language. When the Founding Fathers drafted the Constitution in 1787, they made deliberate choices about what to include and what to leave out. Language was one of those omissions. Unlike other countries that declared official languages to unify their identity, the U.S. chose to avoid the issue altogether. Why? Because the founders knew the new nation was made of immigrants from many lands, speaking many languages. Even the idea that German almost became the official language is mostly a myth, based on a 1795 vote in Virginia that wasn't about language policy at all. In the 1800s, immigrants continued to flood the U.S., Germans, Irish, Italians, Chinese, all bringing their native languages. This made the linguistic landscape even richer. Schools and newspapers operated in multiple languages. German-language newspapers were widespread. In Louisiana, schools taught in French. In New Mexico, Spanish was the dominant tongue. There was no national effort to enforce English-only policy yet. Instead, multilingualism was accepted as part of American life. While the federal government stayed silent on the matter, individual states began to shape their own language laws. Some states adopted English officially, others remained multilingual. Pennsylvania printed official documents in both English and German. Louisiana conducted court in both English and French. New Mexico offered education in Spanish and English. The story of language in America was never uniform. It was regional, shaped by history, immigration, and politics. So why does the U.S. have no official language at the federal level? Because from the beginning, it was a nation of many peoples, many cultures, and many tongues. But that multicultural openness didn't last forever. As immigration increased and nationalism rose, calls for English-only policies began to grow. We'll explore how the 20th century brought a shift, where language became political, emotional, and controversial. From the World Wars to the rise of the English-only movement. From 1880 to 1920, over 23 million immigrants arrived in the United States. Italians, Poles, Russians, Jews, Greeks, and many others came searching for a better life, but they brought their languages with them. Urban neighborhoods became enclaves of language diversity. Chinatown, Little Italy, Polish neighborhoods in Chicago, Yiddish-speaking communities in New York. But with this diversity came anxiety among many native-born Americans. Would these newcomers assimilate? Would they learn English or cling to their cultures? When the U.S. entered World War I in 1917, the German language became a target. Before the war, German was the most widely spoken foreign language in the U.S., used in churches, schools, newspapers, and even courtrooms. But anti-German sentiment exploded. German books were burned. Schools stopped teaching German. Sauerkraut was renamed Liberty Cabbage. Even speaking German in public became taboo or dangerous. This was America's first taste of enforced language suppression, and it wouldn't be the last. In the 1910s and 1920s, the U.S. launched widespread Americanization campaign. Immigrants were expected to learn English, adopt American customs, and abandon their old identity. So why does the U.S. have no official language at the federal level? Because from the beginning, it was a nation of many peoples, many cultures, and many tongues. But that multicultural openness didn't last forever. As immigration increased and nationalism rose, calls for English-only policies began to grow. We'll explore how the 20th century brought a shift, where language became political, emotional, and controversial. From the World Wars to the rise of the English-only